I'm Kelsey Zeiser, Senior Editor at Light Reading, and we're here at the big 5G event in Denver, and I'm joined by Phillips with AT&T. Thanks for joining me, Shay.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to see you. So you were on a Women in Comms workshop this afternoon. Tell us a little bit about the subject of your fireside chat. You talked about tall poppy syndrome. I think a lot of people might not be familiar with what that is. Is it a gardening term? Like, what does that mean?
Funny, so I didn't know what it was before either. So tall poppy syndrome is actually a misperception that people have about people who are successful. So they assume that because you're successful, that you're unapproachable, and they do things to try to discredit you or damage your reputation.
Okay, so yeah, we also talked a little bit about how women can build each other up, and you shared a mantra that I really liked for hope. Can you tell us what that was?
Sure. I asked the ladies in the room to keep their hopes up. And so HOPE is an acronym for be humble, be open, be personable, be empathetic, and more importantly, be a sponsor to other women around them.
There was a lot of conversation about the importance of sponsorship as well as how to be your authentic self. And you shared some advice that a sponsor gave you that you've carried through your career. Can you tell us a little bit about that advice and how you've applied it?
Sure. I got advice from Kathy Coughlin. She was an executive in our company, and she always told me that I didn't have to know all the answers, which to me is the equivalent of you don't have to be able to check all the boxes, but you do need to know what questions to ask, and through asking those questions, you can learn a lot as you pivot and move through different parts of your career, and I've really carried that with me over the last 24 years.
And you also talked about how to foster a two-way relationship between sponsors and mentors and how to build your network. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What's your advice for having a good relationship with a sponsor?
Sure. I think the most important thing is to understand that in any sponsorship relationship, it is not a one-way street. You have to make deposits as much as you want to make withdrawals. And you can do that in very easy ways, such as offering to help on projects, or maybe if you read an article that's pertinent to that person's part of the business, just sharing that, but also always keeping the lines of communication open in a helpful way that can help them be successful just as much as they can help you be successful.
So this week you're doing a presentation on 5G and IoT. Can you give us a little sneak peek about what you'll be discussing and why is 5G important to AT&T's IoT strategy?
Sure. We really view 5G as a new network technology that will help transform different industries. For example, manufacturing, smart cities are just a few examples. And so 5G is coming in terms of the high bandwidth and super low latency, but we're even having a multi-network strategy where we start with low power wide area networks and our LTE-M or LTE for machines networks, which will allow the connection of lots of different things that we haven't necessarily been able to connect before at a lower cost and also with better battery life. So LTE-M networks are part of what we consider the 5G standard, and then you go forward and that leads us into 5G, which will then give you even lower latency and higher bandwidth to help really drive use cases that, for example, are highly video based, as an example, that require a lot of different bandwidth and the ability for customers to make real-time solutions or use real-time functions.
So it sounds like 5G will have a big impact on the latency issue, and that'll then improve what you can do with IoT.
Absolutely. When you start thinking about, you'll hear a lot about autonomously driven vehicles, and while 5G is not creating the car itself, it does enable a lot of the use cases that you want to use in an autonomously driven vehicle, like entertainment or the ability for vehicles to talk to each other as real time as they possibly can. So there is a lot of capabilities coming from that perspective, and so we're excited about it.
Well, thanks so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.